Both Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro have been trending on Twitter for the last 2 days because Tucker has been noticing some things about little Ben, and in a recent interview made it very clear how he feels about him and his ilk, the Neocons. And so the Neocons responded in full force, denouncing Tucker for, well, wanting Americans to put America first.
There are people on the right who have spent the last 2 months every single day focused on a conflict in a foreign country as our own country becomes dangerously unstable on the brink of financial collapse, with tens of millions of people who shouldn't be here in the country. We don't know their identities or the purpose of their being here. Like stuff that's could destroy the country for real and make it impossible for my kids to live here. They've said nothing about that, and they're focused with laser intensity on foreign conflicts. And I'm like, they don't care about the country at all. And that's kind of their prerogative, but I do, because I have no choice, because I'm from here, my family's been here hundreds of years, I plan to stay here. Like, I'm shocked by how little they care about the country, and including the person you mentioned. And I can't imagine how someone like that could get an audience of people who claim to care about America, because he doesn't, obviously.
So because Tucker verbalized out loud the essence of this meme, which I made, which says, I noticed countless Republicans who oppose sending money to Ukraine to fund their war support sending money to Israel in order to pay for theirs. Now the neocon establishment has targeted Tucker for cancellation. This senior editor at Newsweek called it a truly vile comment, and adding, I've had my disagreements with Ben Shapiro, but to call him anything other than a patriot is misguided. It reeks of the world's oldest bigotry. Of course, he's talking about anti-Semitism. So now Tucker Carlson has been branded an anti-Semite because he doesn't want to fund any foreign wars or make that one exception that the Republican Party always makes for a certain little country over there in the Middle East when they claim that they don't support foreign wars either. John Potratz, who co-founded the Weekly Standard, a staple neocon publication that failed back in 2018, with Bill Kristol, who are architects of the WMD scam and the war in Iraq, he says, I know both Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson well. I gave Tucker his start in the majors. Here's what I know. Ben loves America. Tucker hates America. He didn't used to, but now he does. Ben always has and will never stop. This is all. Nothing more to be said. I bet he does, Mr. Potratz. He loves it so much he doesn't, quote, give a good damn about the so-called browning of America. It's just so-called, it's just a conspiracy theory that the mass immigration is causing dramatic and irreversible demographic changes. But that's great, according to Ben. He doesn't give a damn. But he sure does want Israel to keep their supermajority of Jewish demographics. In fact, it would be extremely anti-Semitic to even remotely suggest that Israel could use a little bit more diversity. Maybe some migrants from Africa, right? Oh, wait, what's this? Benjamin Netanyahu orders the removal of African migrants. Little Ben has been sniping at Tucker Carlson an awful lot lately and was very upset that Tucker did that famous interview with Alex Jones recently, which largely resulted in Elon Musk restoring Alex's Twitter account because of the renewed pressure that it put on Elon to do the right thing.
It's hard to find less of an Alex Jones fan than I am. The sort of soft peddling of Alex Jones that Tucker Carlson did on his X show the other day, I thought was absurd. I mean, Alex Jones did, for years, promote a conspiracy theory that Sandy Hook...
Yeah, we know he made some mistakes many years ago because the mainstream media mentions those mistakes literally every time they say his name. So you don't have to rehash them in a 12-minute segment, which is exactly what Little Ben did. He spent about 5 seconds mentioning the fact that Alex Jones was restored on Twitter, and then spent the rest of the 12.5-minute segment literally showing clips from Media Matters smearing Alex Jones over the years and telling his audience what a terrible person he is.
Frankly, I don't think Alex Jones is totally worth defending as a human being.
Little Ben also recently attacked Tucker Carlson because he's getting a little bit too close to talking about how the neocons hijacked the Republican Party by kicking out the real conservatives, now known as paleoconservatives, starting back in the 1960s and then basically finishing the job in the 1980s.
So Tucker Carlson, yesterday, he did a show with a comedian, and this comedian, I guess, is a libertarian, And Tucker Carlson was talking with this guy, and this guy started ripping into William F. Buckley, and it led to this kind of odd exchange.
This guy, see, Ben doesn't want to actually properly credit the show that Tucker was on because Ben doesn't want to give this guy any more attention.
Whatever this atrophy in like the intelligence of the American people, I think it's accelerating. I mean, it's look, and again, just like you said, I'll disclaimer as well. I'm talking about people who I don't necessarily like. Like, I view Bill Buckley as one of like the great villains of the 20th century. I think he ruined.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes, but he was clearly also CIA, by the way, but he was also a very intelligent guy and witty, and was not speaking down to his audience. And like
again, Tucker's a super talented broadcaster, and I think Tucker's a smart guy. I'm just wondering why. Like, I would love for him to explicate why he thinks Bill Buckley was one of the worst forces of the 20th century.
Well, because Ben, like I said, William F. Buckley and his neocon publication National Review, which of course today is run by Never Trumpers, kicked out the real conservatives, purged them from the Republican Party back in the 1960s and finishing the job in the 1980s. Something I detail in my book, The War on Conservatives. Kind of like how Ben wants to kick Candace Owens out of the Daily Wire, because Candace noticed that Nikki Haley, neocon, is obsessed with a foreign country, Ben's favorite country, and then sarcastically said this.
Well, I am here today to endorse Nikki Haley for president of Israel. I think she's earned that. I think Bibi Netanyahu is going through a very bad time right now. Support for Israel has virtually collapsed socially. If you're paying attention to the trends and you're paying attention to what people are watching, you're paying attention to the protests. And the one person that I think is capable of getting it back is Nikki Haley, with enough money from foreign interest lobbies. So there it is, guys. I'm endorsing Nikki Haley, president of Israel.
Now, such comments shouldn't be controversial at all. For example, if somebody said that Lindsey Graham should run for Senate over in Ukraine, because it appears that that's all he cares about is funding Ukraine and protecting Ukrainian borders, then nobody would call for that commentator to be fired. Nobody would accuse them of being anti-Ukrainian because their allegiance to America appears to be weak and they appear to prefer another country better.
Ever wonder if one day you'll have to flee the United States?
I mean, I think that every Jew throughout world history who has a brain and knows history has always wondered if a country that is not a Jewish state is going to eternally provide them security guarantees and full citizenship, of course. I mean, that's I think to think that that's why the existence of the state of Israel is the single greatest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States, frankly. Right? Because Israel exists, that means the United States is going to be a more welcoming place for me, because Israel is there as a backstop in case anything should go wrong.
But the pressure to fire Candace Owens was tremendous, which speaks volumes about the power and influence that a certain foreign lobbying group and foreign country has over the United States. And so Jeremy Boring, the CEO of the Daily Wire, issued a statement saying that they were not going to fire Candace Owens, surprisingly. That she's paid to give her opinion, blah, 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 unless those opinions run afoul of the law or she violates the terms of her contract in some way. Her job is secure, and she is welcome at the Daily Wire, which also speaks volumes about the power of the neocons. Just the fact that it was a very real possibility that she could have gotten fired for making such obvious comments about neoconservatism shows, well, who's running the show. Learn more about the cowardly conservatives and how the neocons hijacked the Republican Party by reading my new book, The War on Conservatives. Order it in paperback from Amazon.com or click the link in the description below, because we're not just up against the Marxists, the supposed Democrats, the Marxist and liberal media industrial complex. We're also up against the neocons as well. So a great breakdown in there and a whole bunch of stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. So order The War on Conservatives in paperback from Amazon.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.